Let's go back to that sprinkler head example and think about it a little bit more completely. So if this is the base of our sprinkler and we're interested in, say, this point right here, remember the sprinkler head itself is oscillating back and forth. And so what that means is that if we ride along on it, sometimes a fluid particle leaving this point is headed off in this direction. And you can think of this one little particle as projectile motion going off like that. That would be a case when we had velocity moving in that direction. On the other hand, there's some other moment in time where this thing is about to turn around, and you might actually have a particle that launches out this way. And of course, if it's moving back to the left, there's probably some other time where there's a particle that's being released from this that's going off that way. Those are the path lines. Path lines. And this is an unsteady flow, and so interesting things happen, right? Remember that the streak line is all of the particles that have passed through, and so if this thing is zigzagging back and forth, and then we freeze frame, take just a moment and freeze, what you're going to discover is there's a particle that has moved out, you know, as it was at some huge velocity sideways. So there's some particle that sits there. Let's use a different color. There's a particle at one instant in time that's sitting here. There's another particle that was moving out this path that might be here by then. There's another particle moving out this path. And there's another particle that's moved out this path. Each of these just represents a particle that was launched from this location at some previous time step. But because this is oscillating, you're probably going to find that there's some other particle that before these two launched out there, and something that's now all the way out here like this maybe, that followed that same path because we're going back and forth. And so you can think of this sprinkler as just spitting out little teeny bursts. And this is what you'd see. And so the path line, the streak line, is a line of all the particles that have moved through this point previously. And so these particles all came from this location at one moment or another. And we call that a streak line. That, by the way, is why you see what you see when we sprinkle and make it shake back and forth. You're going to see this zigzagging thing, which is strange because all the fluid's actually moving in a straight line. Any one particle, that is. Now you can imagine that at any instant in time, there are particles like this one up here that is moving along in this direction. There's a particle at the same instant in time that's moving up in this direction. This particle at that instant in time is moving out that way. This one's going this way, and this way, and this way. And if we filled in a whole bunch of vectors, you could fill in this whole field with vectors, and what you'd see is the streamline, which is everywhere tangent, and those streamlines, strangely enough, do things like this, where they zigzag back and forth along a given path line, stream line. And again, that's not the motion of any one particle, but a line that goes through all of that's everywhere tangent to the velocity of all the particles moving along that region of the flow. So it can be a little strange to think about, but the thing you want to keep in mind is just that a path line is one particle. This is like throwing a million baseballs, each at a different instant in time. The streak line connects all of those at one moment in time. And so this streak line will look different if I move forward by 1/10 of a second. And then the streamline is if we took the velocity of every particle that's out there, which they're all over the darn place, and they all have different velocities. If you started looking at it, you could find that there are particles that follow, well, not particles, there are velocity vectors that follow everywhere tangent to this line, and that is your streamline. When it's steady, all of these things collapse to a single line. If that same sprinkler were just not moving, it would be shooting a particle out like this, and every particle that leaves there would leave with this same velocity, and every particle would eventually experience gravity and come on down like so. And so our velocity field would look like this, and it wouldn't change in time. And so now all three of these things would collapse to a single line. The streamline, the streak line, and the path line are all the same thing.